transcription comes up with versus what I'm actually saying. All right. So welcome to our presentation today on enterprise zones. I'd like to thank you for joining us. My name is Shelby Wood, and I work for the City of Westminster in the Department of Economic Development. My job is to manage our small business resource programs here at the city, including developing and coordinating training opportunities like this one. Let me let somebody in. I do want to make a plug that all of our webinars are free to our attendees. In the same way that this webinar is being recorded, so are all of our webinars. That way, at the conclusion, we can take a copy of that recording and a copy of the presentation. We take it and upload it and save it to a business training library that we have that lives on our economic development website. You should have linked to that page in order to register for this webinar. But just in case, once I turn everything over to our presenters, I'll drop a copy of that link in the chat. That way, if you want to refer back to this later, you have it handy. But that library has not only our city webinar recordings, but also the recordings from the webinars that are hosted by our partners over at the North Metro Small Business Development Center. They provide quarterly business-specific training topics. So overall, this library has developed into a really great reference library and tool for our businesses, especially if it's something that you can't attend a topic on live. So the purpose of our webinar today is enterprise zones. Westminster is uniquely positioned in that it straddles both Adams and Jefferson County. So today we have partners from both organizations who oversee their EZ programs to walk us through the ins and outs. I do want to ask if you guys are okay with it, that we hold off on any questions, comments, conversations until we reach the end of our presentation. We do have plenty of time set aside at the end to address all of those if anything comes up. We do have a little bit of a small group today, so this may be a good opportunity, instead of just utilizing the chat, to maybe just unmic everybody so that we can have some one-on-one engagement and conversations instead of just being limited to that chat feature. So again, questions at the end. If possible, I will stop talking, but I would like to introduce Aaron Kruger, who is here with us from our Adams County Regional Economic Partnership, and Carter Thomas, who is joining us here from Jefferson County.
So I'll begin. Yes, I'm Carter. I'm with Jeffco EDC. So I oversee the Enterprise Zone program for all of Jefferson County. And you might be wondering what the Enterprise Zone program is. Basically, it's a state-run program. They designate zones where they want economic activity, and companies within those zones are able to claim state income tax credits at the end of the year. And this is basically free money that's out there, and you just got to know to claim it. Next slide, please. So to start using this program, first you have to pre-certify, and you have to do this every year. The pre-certification process basically is just set there in place to make sure that companies that want to claim this are actually in the enterprise zone. It's a pretty quick process. So you'll go to the state Enterprise Zone program website. There's an interactive address lookup tool. You can type in the address of your business, and that will tell you whether you're in the zone or not. And then from there, you can click on the apply for a tax credit button, which is on the same page. And there, if you don't already have an account with the state OEdit portal, you'll need to make an account, and this can take up to 48 hours to be validated, but once you're validated, you can go back in and start applying for these credits. And then the actual application process is fairly simple. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. You need basic information like your taxpayer ID number, name of your business, contact info, and then you'll put in your address, and then it will validate you, and then it will send us, me or Aaron, depending if you're in Jefferson or Adams County, it will send us your application, and then we can go in and approve that for you. Next slide, please.
All right. And so I will discuss kind of the certification process. So once you are pre-certified, you will begin, just starting to track the activity that has been done over the year. And so then you would go back in and click the apply button, kind of the same process that you did for the pre-certification, except this time you're going to click Enterprise Zone Certification. And then you're going to input, well, actually, you don't really need to input your pre-certification number. It's kind of there. So you can just start that process that way. It's a lot easier. And then you're going to just, click the boxes, check the boxes that the activity that you're going to claim, and then just type in the dollar amounts and the employee amounts. And then you'll hit submit and it'll come to Carter or I again, depending on which enterprise zone you are in. And then we review that just to make sure, again, that your address is in the enterprise zone. And also just to make sure that, the employee head count's right, there's nothing that looks a little wonky in there. And the dollar amounts, computers should do it calculations, but we double check that the calculations are correct as well. So next slide. So there's a total of 9 tax credits that a business can qualify for. These are then outlined as well as on the program website. The top 3 that Carter and I usually see are going to be that investment tax credit, where businesses investing in personal property can claim up to 3% tax credits. The other one is job training. Companies that implement a qualified job training program are able to earn 12% on the income tax. And there's also a guide that Carter and I have as well that we are more than happy to share, but it's also on the program website as well, that really dives deeper into what eligible activity you can claim under these. Like, you can do in-house job training. There's certain criteria on outsourcing job training as well. And then the other top one we see is the new employee tax credit, where you can claim up to $1,100 per net new employee. Next slide. So this is a picture of Adams County's enterprise zone map. I'm kind of the one that's the shape, I guess you want to say like the light orange. So we have Brighton, Northglenn, Thornton, everywhere in Adams County, and then just a little sliver of Westminster on this side. So again, like Carter mentioned, you can go in and type in your business's physical address, and then it should populate somewhere on the map. And then if you're in the orange zone, you're in the Adams County Enterprise Zone. Next slide. So looking at statistics specifically for Westminster in 2022, I showed that we had 124 pre-certifications that were approved, and then only 15 certifications were approved. So we're trying to figure out why there's such a difference there. And so that's kind of something that we're going to investigate more this year. But basically, I think a lot of businesses kind of forget that it's a 2-step process, that you do pre-certify and then you need to go back in and do the certification. And then Adams County as a whole, for the enterprise zone, we had 343 certifications filed, and that was claiming a little under $15 million invested in total tax credits. We showed 5,321 new jobs that were reported, and a lot of those are in the healthcare and construction. Next slide. So for AC Rep, Adams County Regional Economic Partnership, we do have kind of some helpful tools on our website. We have a specific area just designated for the enterprise zone. We also are kind of going through a website change now, hopefully to launch the new one middle of April. So this little image might look a little different, but that's going to be our website link. And then it'll take you to the program site as well. Next slide. So also another part of the Enterprise Zone program is contribution projects. And so this is a place where nonprofits can do, or I guess, submit an application to do a 5-year term project that kind of helps with economic development growth. And so right now, Adams County is currently managing 5, and these were the 5 that are listed. Kind of this is the year 2 that they were implemented. And then the goals for Adams County's contribution project specifically, we're going to focus on workforce, tourism, and regional vitality, as well as economic development for 2023. And I guess another thing with the contribution projects is that a donor, like anyone in the community, can donate to any of these projects, and you get a 25% tax credit if it's cash, and then 12% if it's in kind donation. Now I'll kick it over to Carter to talk about Jefferson County. Sure.
Yep, this is what the Jefferson County Enterprise Zone map is. It extends farther west, but I just wanted to show you the Westminster part. It's really the new downtown area and up by the airport. But yeah, so if you go into the address lookup bar and you type in your address and you see light green all around your business, you'll be in one of the Jefferson County Enterprise Zones. Next slide, please. So just a little statistics about the Jefferson County Enterprise Zone. So we had 54 pre-certifications in 2022 that were approved, and only 14 certifications were approved. And yeah, just like Adams County, we have a problem with a lot of people are pre-certifying, but a lot of people, I think, are forgetting to go back in at the end of the year and do their certification, which is really the most important part, because that's when you're going to get those tax credits. And just a few more statistics. We had 228 total certifications in the whole county. $215 million were invested for the investment tax credit, and around 650 new jobs were created as part of the program. Next slide, please. And these are our active contribution projects. Hands of the Carpenter, 40 West Arch District. So they can really span a whole wide range of different nonprofits. And like Aaron said, if you ever want to donate to one of these projects, you will get a 25% kickback at the end of the year if it's a check or cash. And then if you do an in-kind contribution, you'll get 12% of that back. Next slide, please. Here are just a few tips and tools that we have here in the Jefferson County area. So if you ever have any Enterprise Zone related questions, there's my email. Feel free to reach out whenever. I'm always happy to answer those questions. If you have a few more, if you just want to look into the program a little bit more on your own, there's our website, and it will take you to our Enterprise Zone page. And then on that page, there will be a link to the State Enterprise Zone page as well, which I also have linked right below there. And then if you want to really go deep in and dive into the information and see what activities are eligible, I've also linked the State Enterprise Zone tax guide. I typically tell people to send this stuff over to their CPA because it can get kind of complicated. It's tax. We're not all tax professionals, so it's nice to just be able to send it over to them. Tell them that you want to start using this program. And a lot of CPAs are familiar with the program and have worked with previous clients, and they can help you best navigate the program. Next slide, please. And here's both of our contact information. Next slide, please. And now we'll open the floor for any questions.
Thanks, guys. I am going to see if I can allow mics for everybody here. Go down the list. All right, so everybody should be mic allowed now. So if you have questions, want to jump in, feel free to just unmute yourself to click off your mic, and you should be able to join the conversation. I'm going to go back a screen for the contact information, just to have that handy. But does anybody have any questions, comments, anything for our panel today?
This is Chris, Economic Development, Westminster. I have a question. With regard to pre-certifying, is there a particular time of year you need to do it, or can you do it at any time?
Yeah, I can do that. So you can pre-certify up to 3 months before your tax year starts, but if you ever forget to do it, you can pre-certify anytime throughout the year. Just know that you can't claim activities that happen before you're pre-certified. So I always tell people, make sure you pre-certify just in case, because you never know when you'll hire a new employee, buy a new piece of equipment, because if you're not pre-certified before that, you won't be able to claim those activities.
Okay. So if somebody moves into an enterprise zone mid-year, they can pre-certify then, and then starting then is when their activities will qualify.
Exactly. And you do have to pre-certify every year. And then,
Okay.
like I said, you can do it 3 months before if you'd like.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else have anything you want to pose to our panel? Definitely want to throw out, these folks have made themselves available. If you're watching this webinar later, or even to anybody on today, if you have questions about the program, want to connect specifics to your business, timing, even how to go through the program. Both Aaron and Carter have made themselves available to have those one-on-one conversations. So nothing dies here today. Definitely open and available whenever you guys do want to start that process. I noticed that we had a new person hop on partway through. So I'm going to allow Mike, Kristen Kim, we just kind of got done wrapping up our kind of main core pieces about our enterprise zone webinar. So I'm not sure if you are currently in an enterprise zone and have questions about maybe what that process looks like. Not to put you on the spot, no obligation to participate. Or, if you're outside of an enterprise zone, I know that recently we've had a business that has had some questions about how do they actually get into one. So I don't know if Aaron, Carter, do you guys want to share, if your business maybe falls outside of one, what that process kind of looks like in order to maybe either get into an enterprise zone or really what differentiates where the boundaries are drawn?
Boundary amendments. So we're AC reps kind of in the process right now to work with the county at Adams County to work on kind of looking at redesignating our zones, because there's some that, so it happened, the zones get redesignated every 10 years based off the census. So I believe the last one was it became official in 2016 from that data. And so we're looking back and there's a lot of residential in Adams County. And so, there's been a lot more growth in the economic development. So we're looking at how to take those and move the boundaries a little bit. And it's kind of a process too.
Yeah, it's a long process, but as the administrators, we can apply for a boundary amendment. And we actually went through one last year in Wheat Ridge. The Lutheran Medical Campus is moving to a new facility. So we applied to make the old Lutheran campus an enterprise zone to encourage redevelopment in that area. But yeah, and if you ever want to move into an enterprise zone, there's always, if you're ever looking for a new facility, that's something that if you're in Jefferson County, that is something we can help with. And then we try to look for facilities that fall into an enterprise zone because that's a huge value to a potential business.
Can you, this is Chris again, can you apply for boundary amendments anytime?
So it goes to the EDC in May is when they need to be submitted, but I believe we can do, you can do them every year, but
Okay,
it goes for approval to the EDC in May.
okay. Got it.
And I want to say it's what, the third Thursday is when they meet. So it's the middle of May.
Got it. Got it.
Yes, and you know, those of us here at the City of Westminster are also available to help start and navigate and facilitate those conversations with our county partners as well. So know that we're all a resource to you if that's something that you want to pursue. Anybody else have any questions or anything for our county reps today? Otherwise, we can maybe wrap up our webinar and give everybody maybe 30 minutes back in their day.
I have one more thing, Shelby, if it's all right.
Go
It's
ahead.
Chris again.
Absolutely.
So if you have a company moving from out of state, no employees in Colorado, into an enterprise zone, can all their employees, if they're get through the pre-certification, okay, would all their employees qualify for the employee tax credits?
Yes, if they're new Colorado employees, as long as they're new to the state, if you like moved from Jefferson County to Adams County,
Yeah.
and the jobs are all the same, you could not. But yeah, if a company came from outside of state and created, say, 50 jobs, you could claim all 50 of those for the new employee tax credit, as well as the employer-sponsored health insurance tax credit, because that one applies for the first 2 years that you're in an enterprise zone.
So if a company, okay, that's great. If a company moves from one county to another within Colorado, say moves from Jefferson to Adams, and then after it gets into the Adams enterprise zone, adds 10, those are qualifying as well.
As long as they're 10 new
New to
jobs
Colorado.
you didn't have previously, yes.
Okay.
So
Got
if you just moved facilities and you had all the same workers,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to claim any of those jobs. But if you hired 10 new additional employees as part of the new facility, you would be able to claim this.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great. That's all I have.
And also too, with the new or with the employee credit, they also do seasonal workers qualify for that as well. There's a section in that tax credit guide that explains how that calculation happens, but you know, it's seasonal workers are included in that as well.
Sure. And the other thing that's interesting is so few people actually take advantage of the tax credits after pre-certifying. Is that just Westminster or is that everywhere?
I think it's everywhere. Yeah.
I think it's everywhere.
What do you, and is there a specific time that they need to certify their enterprise zone expenditures so that maybe they could be notified that not to forget it or something like that? Or is it something that is hard to sort of pin down time-wise?
It's usually going to happen around the period when you're filing your state income taxes. So setting a reminder would be a good idea. You'll receive a certification form and then you'll turn that in with your state income taxes. So that's when the certification process happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Chris, we're looking into it with AC Rep. Lisa and I are looking into, you know, how do we take the information like the emails from the pre-certifications, downloading all that into a file and then doing just like a generic email reminder.
Yeah.
But sometimes some of those emails we get bounce backs from. And so
Sure.
that kind of becomes hard too. So
Yeah, understood.
And it depends who actually filed the pre-certification as well. You know, sometimes there's multiple different contacts. It's like someone from the business or it's the CPA who's in a different state.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and different companies operate on fiscal years or calendar years, and some people have even weird years that start in March. So it's kind of hard for us to continually remind people.
Sure.
We do send out reminders for pre-certification, but yeah, that's why I suggest working with your CPA, because they'll remember to do this more likely.
Mhm.
And you can do the pre-certification on your own and then let your CPA know that you're pre-certified and you'd like to certify at the end of the year as well.
Yeah. Got it. Thanks.
All right, last call. Anybody else? All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Just to recap, the copy of this webinar and the presentation will be posted to that training library, which I did not throw in the chat because I've got too many screens open, but I will get that to everybody. And a huge thank you to Aaron and Carter for your time today to share with us about the program. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out to them or anybody at the Westminster City staff, and happy to help connect you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.